Hello, and welcome to the next episode of the Spirit and Soul podcast. I am your host, Tiffany Cohen, and today's episode is something that I really love to talk about and I love to learn about, and that is our spiritual DNA. So, what is your spiritual DNA? How does it differ from your physical DNA? And how can we start to understand what this spiritual DNA is and work with it? And I'm really excited to talk about this today. So let's jump in. So number one, have you heard of spiritual DNA? Are you like, what are you talking about, girlfriend? Like, where are you coming out with this? If so, listen, don't worry about it. We're going to dive into it today. So if you know Joe Dispenza, he talks a lot about how things manifest in the body. Okay, so Dr. Joe Dispenza, he talks about how things manifest in the body. He talks about tapping into, basically what he's saying is tapping into like this spiritual place, this energetic spiritual place, and rewriting your physical DNA out of that. So if you've ever read anything by him, if you've ever heard him talk, even like little clips on Instagram, they play a lot of his clips on Instagram, you will learn so much and start to understand a little bit more about how the spiritual DNA and the physical DNA really kind of come together and work together. But they are separate, and here's how. So your physical DNA, you know what that is, right? It's your genetic makeup. It may be that, you look like someone in your family. It may be that you carry genetic markers of different diseases, things that have run in your family, within your blood, right? Within your physical blood. Now, I know in the beginning of my spiritual journey, something that always kind of caught my attention and made me really think was, well, if we have this bloodline, right? And we have this physical DNA, well, what about, and it goes all the way back, like it can go back and back and back for generations. Then how does that work if we reincarnate? If we keep coming back and we have multiple lives, how does that really work? And I'd always have this question. And then I began to understand what spiritual DNA was. And that's really how we have both the ancestral physical bloodline DNA, right? That if someone in our family maybe had a dis-ease, how it could possibly, it doesn't mean that it will, but could possibly manifest through our own bodies, right? And or just your blood makeup in general, right? Who your great grandparents were, and how you are related to them. All of that really it really was something for me that I questioned. I'm like, well, these don't make sense to me. But what spiritual DNA and how that plays a role is that we know, we talk about this a lot, right? Is that we have things that we need to do while we are here, right? We have different missions, different purposes in this lifetime. And your spiritual DNA is what really makes up your soul. So if you can think of your physical DNA, it makes up your body. Think of your spiritual DNA as the makeup of your soul. And if you came here with a job to do, let's say in this lifetime, it was to learn, forgiveness maybe, okay? Then you are going to have this purpose of, you're going to have a lot of things happen to you in your lifetime that are going to prompt you to, number one, have to forgive, whether it's yourself or other people. Have to learn how to. That may be a challenge at first. It is a lesson that we begin to learn. And then how do we begin to release past karma, even within, not just within this lifetime, but past lifetimes? How do we begin to release all of that non-forgiveness, I guess you could say, unforgiveness, non-forgiveness, from all of these different lifetimes, the energy of them? And then if we look at it from that physical perspective. So I want you to think of it like this. Try to stay with me here. Okay. Basically, what happens is this. Let's say you carry codes, right? If we have to actually, you know what? Before I jump into this, let's talk about codes. So we have these different light codes or codes within our spiritual DNA. Okay. So we have our spiritual DNA. We're not talking about the body right this moment, in our spiritual DNA. And we have these codes that can come online. And if you were at the Lionsgate event, we talked a lot about light codes. So these codes are not just about like love and light types of things. They are about a lot of different things within our spiritual makeup, and they can turn on or off based on our decisions, because we have free will, right? So based on our decisions, based on our thought patterns, based on how much we ascend, this is why we want to continuously be ascending, right? So we have these different codes that begin to turn on or turn off based on what decisions we are making within our own lifetime. So when we look at these codes, we can begin to understand that if I make a decision, and my job in this life, or one of my things to do in this lifetime, is to really understand forgiveness, then let's say that code for forgiveness is off. And it's off, and I have things in my life that happen to me where I'm just in a state of not forgiving at all. And now I'm in a loop of people doing things to me where I need to forgive them. I need to find forgiveness in my heart. And I just keep going through this loop. I keep attracting relationships and friendships and family members or people in my life that continuously make me have to prompt me to forgive. And it's something that I keep not doing. And now let's say I go through a spiritual awakening. I start to understand that living life with this feeling of like sadness or anger, probably more anger about my life and how people always betray me or always do not nice things to me. And I am in this low vibration frequency. And now I begin to wake up, and I begin to open up my eyes to the fact that forgiveness is surrender. And I start to forgive. And now my light code for forgiveness is beginning to turn on. Okay. And now it's turning on. And now I have this light pouring in, beginning to pour in. And it's beginning to filter its way through my energetic layers. It's beginning to open up, and I can begin to feel the effects of this choice to forgive. Okay. So now I have this light code that has turned on, and now I have ascended in some way. And I'm going through the healing journey around all of these things. And maybe I do a past life hypnosis, regression, meditation, whatever it might be. And I go back into another lifetime, and I see that I also in another lifetime had a situation where I needed to forgive, and I didn't, and it ate away at me. And then now I carried it into this lifetime, right? So now I go back and I heal that, and I ascend even more, and my light is shining even brighter, right? So I have turned on a part of my spiritual DNA that has allowed me to ascend. So that is where those codes come in. When you turn on those light codes, other codes can turn on as well. Maybe in the forgiveness, because you were blocking, let's say, your intuition. So now in your forgiveness light code, you turn that on, and now your intuition light code turned on a little bit more. Or maybe something else turned on a little bit more. And now you're receiving in ways you never have, because you're clearing energetic blockages, right? So this is how the spiritual DNA works when it comes to light codes, or how I believe that it works. Okay. And also what I think is within our spiritual DNA is codes for physical, or let's just say, I'm not even going to say physical. We'll say dis-eases. Okay. Remember that we come from a state of wholeness before we manifest in this body. Okay. So there is a state of perfection. There's no dis-eases. There's no nothing like that. So we come into this body, and as we start to have our human experiences, we begin to take on, let's say, different types of energies when it comes to dis-eases. And what I believe happens is, and this is a general belief, I think by some, is that we also carry within our energetic fields these codes for dis-ease. And that could come from family, familial, right? So that can come now, starting to come from your physical bloodline, and you carry the codes for it. So let's say if a family member, let's say, a parent, a grandparent suffers from like heart disease, and somebody could never ever have heart disease. It could run in the family and you never get it. Well, why? Is it your lifestyle, or is it that you never turn on those codes to actually have those things manifest through your body? And that is what I believe. I believe that we turn on the codes to manifest these things in our bodies. And how do we turn them on? Well, oh my gosh, multiple ways. Number one, it could be something that we carry, and we talk about blood memory, right? So we carry with us blood memory because liquids, water in particular, holds memory. Okay. Elsa was right. Okay. Water does have memory. and I believe we also have a blood memory as well. And we carry with us things of our family, things that they could not heal within themselves, right? We talk about healing the mother wounds and things like that, where you are the one that is the strong one that can heal the ancestral traumas. So when we talk about ancestral traumas, let's think back to Louise Hay's study and, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. Okay, let's just talk about Louise Hay. We come back to Louise Hay's studies, and she really, and Joe Dispenza's studies, oh my God. We think about their studies, and what they did was, especially in her book, Heal Your Body, Louise Hay, I think for 10 years it was, she studied the physical ailments or the mental, like anything going on, like it could be like depression, like things like that. Anything that was going on within the body, within the person's body, she looked at, and she realized that these people were all carrying the same type of underlying things within them that were then manifesting physically. So let's say there were a group, these people that every single one of them had knee problems. They all had something with their knee. They couldn't walk well. They had to get surgeries, whatever it might be. And as she, for these years that she studied this, began to interview them and speak with them, she found that every single one of them had something that they had an issue with moving forward in life. So whether it was fear-based, whether it was, something else holding them back, they had an issue with moving on in life. And what she was seeing is that those things were manifesting in the body in the same way. So if they had a knee problem, if somebody complained of a knee issue, she could say right away, what are you not moving forward from in your life? Right? And this began to be prevalent. This is one example, but this began to be prevalent amongst many different groups of people with similar complaints about physical body complaints, or not, within the body, within the mind complaints. And it's really interesting when we begin to now take this step back and understand that if there are codes that we can turn on and off, well, we must be turning something on that's allowing this energy to flow through our energetic field, right? Because we have multiple layers within our field. So let's say it flows through from the soul level, and then it goes into the spiritual level, and then it goes into the mental level, and then it goes into the emotional level. And then finally, it's going to hit that physical level, and it will manifest through your body as physical pain, dis-ease. And that's how this really begins to, the spiritual DNA turns on and affects the physical DNA. So if you have a code already for heart disease, for cancer, for all of these different things, and you don't do the healing around the things that cause the dis-ease within the spiritual layer, it will manifest in the body in the physical layer at some point. It's going to begin to come into the body. So if we know that, and this is what Joe Dispenza talks about all the time, is that once you begin to heal on a spiritual quantum level, you hear that word quantum a lot, right? Quantum means in this 5D and above energetic, right? This 5D experience, fifth dimension experience, where it's completely outside of this 3D reality. We get out of that through meditation. Okay. That's going to be the big one. Through meditation, and have these transcendental experiences where our brain waves, what actually happens is our brain waves begin to operate at a different frequency. And that frequency, when we make decisions from that frequency, or when we choose something different for our life, the way that we want to feel, we begin to actually start to see it happen. And it can happen immediately. Like Joe Dispenza, oh my God, if you have not heard of Joe Dispenza, like please pick up Becoming Supernatural. We have it at Spirit and Soul Studio. It is an incredible, incredible book. He also has a series on Gaia that is unreal. It's amazing. I think it's also called Becoming Supernatural. And in it, he really breaks down how this begins to happen, and then how it begins to happen on a physical level, and then how you can reverse it. So you begin to have things, really start to build up within the body, and then how you can remove it. And people remove things in a weekend during his, workshops. So it's amazing how he has the ability to turn this energetic on in people. But you don't need to go to one of his retreats in order to begin to do this work, right? That's how he writes books. That's why he's writing these books. And that's why he has these things on Gaia, so that you can also start that work yourself. And this is a lot of what we teach also at Spirit and Soul, is really beginning to remove some of this energetic from within your energetic space, so that it doesn't manifest physically, or if it has already manifested physically, how we can begin to alleviate those things in order to remove or begin to heal the dis-ease within the body. So your spiritual DNA and your physical DNA really, really are tied together. But we understand, for the most part, our physical DNA, just like we understand everything that we can see and touch, right? We can understand that a little bit more. It is the spiritual DNA that I really need you to focus on today, because when you can understand your spiritual DNA, the makeup of your spiritual DNA, then you can begin to really heal from anything or prevent other things. Now, yes, nutrition and all of that plays a role in it, right? Because if you are not respecting your body, and you're not respecting the things that it needs, like nutrients and water and eating right and all, and moving your body, moving the energy out of your body. Okay. That's going to be a part of it, getting that energy moving. And I know some of you don't want to hear this. They don't want to hear move your body. I used to be one of those people. And right now, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't move my body all that much, but you better believe I'm moving it. Okay. I'm not a Jenna. I'm not a Jenna Bradshaw. Okay. I wish I could. I'm going to get there. I'm not even going to say I am going to get there one day. But I'm not. What I am is me doing my best, with the understanding that I know that I need to move this energy through my body in a physical way. So what can I do to move it physically that feels good for me in my time frame that I have, where I am in my life in this moment? And what that can look like for me is stretching, walks, just getting like physical, having fun with my kids, like running around with them for a little bit, being outside, grounding. Okay. Again, a big thing for me right now is stretching, doing a lot of different stretching. So how can you move that energy through your body? And for those people that are like, I don't want to hear about moving through my body. I was you at one point. I'm telling you, start with low level movements and you will see that energy begin to shift within yourself. Okay. Just give it a try. All right. Anyway, so yes, nutrition and moving your body all plays a role in it, okay? Because we need to respect the physical vessel that we are in. We need to respect that on every level. But we also need to have an understanding of the spiritual level that ultimately affects the physical, okay? Because remembering that we are 100% human, we are 100% divine. We understand the 100% human part when it comes to the body and how it works. And if we do good things to our body, we're going to see good things, right? We can understand that. However, that spiritual layer needs to be understood just as well, just as much, because anything that's physical that has already begun to manifest, or anything that has already manifested, or anything that could manifest in the future, don't you want to stop it? This is why working through your shadows are so important. This is why understanding your ancestry is so important, and what was plaguing your ancestors. Like, not even just your distant ancestors. I'm like, what has been plaguing your grandma and her life, or your grandfather? What did they live through that you are still carrying? Because remember this right now, you were an egg in your grandmother. You were basically in your grandmother's body because your mother was an egg in her body. Okay? So remember this, is that we have this bloodline carrying through, and that doesn't just mean physical traits. It means emotions, traumas, things that they were going through, that have been past, fears, okay, doubts that have been passed down to you. If you have, which we probably all do, have somebody that did not live through the depression very well, that it was very hard for them. Money was scarce. Maybe they were, going through a period of starvation or scarcity, deep, deep scarcity. Look at your life right now. Even though we're not doing that right now. Okay. We're not in that same boat anymore. You're not living through a depression, that Great Depression. However, you may be carrying a mindset of that. Your parents, okay, your mom or dad may have that mindset around money as well. And they may not have lived through that either. But because the energy of it has remained and has not been healed, okay, that is the key there, that it has not been healed. It has been passed down to you. And now that you are aware of it, I mean, you're listening to this podcast episode, I'm assuming that you are a spiritual person or you're just getting started. And this is really important for you to understand that you are the chosen one. You are the strong one. So you can actually begin to heal whatever your grandparents were going through. And maybe it didn't start at the Great Depression for your grandparents. Maybe it was before that there was massive scarcity. And then the Great Depression hit and it solidified fears that were already there. So maybe they had a really, really hard time because they were already sitting in it from lifetimes before, from, ancestrally. So now it's coming down to you. And maybe now you've always seen scarcity. Maybe you consistently sit in a victim mindset. And how does that manifest through your body? Well, for grandparents before, maybe they had heart conditions. Maybe, because it's stress. Maybe they lived in a constant state of fight or flight, right? And that manifests through the body in different ways. I mean, there's diseases that are actually completely about, and I'm drawing a blank on one of them. I believe it starts with an H, but it's all about like your body never switching out of fight or flight mode. So it's in a constant state of stress. So you begin to have these experiences within the body that are not preferred, right? You begin to develop these dis-eases. So if you're, everybody in your family line has suffered from a heart condition, that does not mean that you will too. It does mean that it's in your physical DNA, and it's definitely going to be in your spiritual DNA, but it is up to you whether you turn that light on or turn it off. Are you going to turn that code off, or are you going to turn it on? All right. Are you going to let it stay on? That's your choice. And it's not just through medicine. It's not just through medication. Okay. Yeah. Maybe that'll temper it. Maybe that's what you need right now. But I can guarantee you that if you heal your ancestral line and all of the stuff that causes that heart problem from a spiritual perspective, I bet you see that heart issue go away. I'm telling you. This is how incredibly well this type of healing works. When we heal on a spiritual level, we heal on a physical level because it is all connected. If we look at, please read the book. I am enjoying every page of it. It is so good. Lady of the Lake Rise by Anna Taylor Finney. She's writes about her journey through cancer. And while thankfully for me, I have never experienced that, the book is so much more than just and I don't want to say just in a diminishing way, but it's more than just a walk through her cancer journey. It is way, way, way more than that. What it is you beginning to understand how things manifest in the body. Like, she understands why she got cancer. She can link it right back to a moment in her life, and then also within her family line where the cancer began, where the codes sat and her light code for it turned on, or her code for it turned on. It's an incredible, incredible book. So if you are like, because Dr. Joe Dispenza can get very, very technical. If you want to just understand it, reading a really beautiful book, order this book from the shop, Lady of the Lake Rise, and also go back and listen to my podcast episode, probably back in May, I want to say, April. This book is absolutely incredible. I highly, highly, highly suggest it. And it will really give you an understanding of how things manifest and how these things are also a journey for us, how it's part of, if it's part of our spiritual journey, then it's going to be a part of our physical journey to heal it if we didn't heal it at the time that it was coming about. So I hope that this gave you a really beautiful understanding of how your physical DNA and your spiritual DNA are completely linked. But remember that it does not just start with your physical DNA, okay? It starts with your spiritual DNA. It starts with what you've signed up for. And then it also carries through your ancestral line on a physical level as well. So you have multiple things here. And the beauty of understanding this is knowing that you are in control. I feel like a lot of people are like, well, my family has heart conditions, so I'm going to have a heart condition, and there's nothing I can do about it because everyone before me had a heart condition. So that means that's my fate. Oh no, it could be your fate if that's the road that you choose in your lifetime. Sure, that could absolutely be your fate. But if you decide right now, full body, that is not my fate, that my fate is actually within my own hands, and I am meant for the biggest and best life possible, and that does not include a heart condition, well, guess what? You can begin to heal from whatever ancestral things you have. But let me tell you something, it is not going to be first on a physical level. Maybe you have to start there if you already have it. but it's not going to start on a physical level. It will 100% start on a spiritual level. And when you see, as you do your work and do the healing, and when you see your own healing come about, that you did not ever have a heart condition, but maybe what happens is, because if we remember, when we do our own healing, we heal 7 generations back and also 7 generations forward. You're doing this for your future children, ancestors, etc. But you're also doing this for the ones that have already been here, okay? Even the ones that are here now. Maybe it's not as bad anymore. Maybe a parent doesn't need the medicine as much, or a dose as high as they were taking, because you began to heal it on a multi-dimensional plane. That's how potent this healing work is. So when we talk about healings, also, this is where not only you just making these decisions and doing the shadow work around it, this is where spinal energetics comes in. This is where Reiki healing comes in, IET comes in, coaching comes in, all of this, because we need to understand our blind spots. This is the work that I do all the time. Okay. And it's not just for my own physical DNA, and it is for my ascension, which all affects all of those things. And I know that. But sometimes it is. Sometimes I've been struggling lately with back pain. And then I look, and both of my parents have struggled their whole lives with back pain. Like, I remember being little and my parents both always complaining of their neck. Well, guess what I have? My neck. Guess what my son Nico has? His neck bothers him. So there is something there that I know I need to heal, but I have to figure out what that is, right? And I have to really focus on it. So look at it like that. Like, I look at my son Nico and I'm like, oh no, I have to heal me so that I can heal him, and let that be your driving force. And maybe if I heal me, I can heal my dad from his. Maybe he won't need Gavin to walk on his back anymore because my dad had this when he was a kid. My aunt just told us a story about when they were little, he would ask her, when she was smaller than him, to walk on his back all the time because his back always hurt. So it's very interesting when you start looking at it from this perspective of how has it been completely come through the family line, and how can you begin to be the one to be the healer of it all. Okay. So go on this journey. I guarantee you will see a difference in your own physical being and how you feel, your own mental well-being, emotional well-being, as you begin to work through these things. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining this episode of the Spirit and Soul podcast. I will see you next time.